This is the Jabberjaw Podcast Network. Visit jabberjawmedia.com for more shows like this one.
Episode number 98 of That One Time on Tour is brought to you by the band The Cryptics. The Cryptics are a band from Dover, New Hampshire. They were touring the United States for their latest release, Continuous New Behavior, before the pandemic struck. You can follow them on all of the social media platforms and find all of the links at thecryptics.com. That's TheCryptics.com. Now here it is, their new single, Mystery Line.
Was beyond belief. Working remotely can be a challenge, especially for teams that are new to it. How do you deal with your work environment being the same as home while staying connected and productive? And then there's your newest coworker, the cat. Well, your friends at Trello have been powering remote teams globally for almost a decade. At a time when teams must come together more than ever to solve big challenges, Trello's here to help. Trello, part of Atlassian's collaborative suite, is an app with an easy-to-understand visual format, plus tons of features that make working with your team functional and just plain fun. Trello keeps everyone organized and on the same page, helping teams communicate, focus, and connect. Teams of all shapes and sizes at companies like Google, Fender, Costco, and likely your favorite neighborhood coffee shop all use Trello to collaborate and get work done. Try Trello for free and learn more at Trello.com. That's Trello.com. Trello.com.
Hey, this is John from Codeseven, and you're listening to That One Time on Tour.
Run for the road, 'cause it's going on and on. We'll be driving through the darkest night until the break of dawn. We'll be heading for the cities, another show for us to play. To get back in the van, 'cause tomorrow we'll do it all again. It's quiet in the van today.
Hey, everybody out there in podcast land, what is going on? This is Chris Swinney. As always, I'm your host for That One Time on Tour. This is my podcast where I get to talk to people in and around the entertainment industry and have a stellar conversation. Thank you so much for checking out last week's episode with Mr. Rick DeVoe, manager extraordinaire. If you guys haven't checked it out, after this episode, go back and check it out. Rick is an awesome guy, and I'd like to give him a shout out once again for coming on the program, and we will have him back in the future. How are you guys doing during the pandemic, the coronavirus? I am scared. I got to say, today we're not on lockdown yet. We're on lockdown tomorrow here in Indiana. So my wife and I were like, you know what sounds really good? Going and getting some chicken wings. So I went to BW3, Buffalo Wild Wings here in Muncie, Indiana. And on my way there, it was kind of like a ghost town. You know, the mall's closed. All these different places are closed. And I saw 5 different cars with signs on them, like signs like taped to the front of the car. One of the signs said, "Stay away, driver tested positive." That one scared me a little bit. I don't know if it's true or not. When I got to BW3, I was walking inside. I saw a car that had a sign that said, "Value your life," with a question mark. And then it said, "Stay away." And then there was a little poorly hand-drawn pistol right underneath the words. So things are getting weird. And I hope that you guys are safe and doing well in your neck of the woods. But this week on the show, this is an awesome episode. Mr. Jon Tuttle from Codeseven. I love Codeseven so much. I've been listening to them since they started, man, and we talk a lot about it. Once again, it's one of those things where I know that I played a show with those guys, but we couldn't quite put our finger on it. And we know that we've hung out, but we couldn't really decide when we hung out. So before I get to my conversation with Jon, and it's a good one, we talk about getting back together and playing the upcoming Furnace Fest, if it happens. I think it's far enough in the future that it may happen. I hope so. But before I get to my conversation, I got to tell you guys about my sponsors. I'm going to get through this pretty quick. The beginning of the episode, the band, The Cryptics, they're awesome. Check out The Cryptics. Go to thecryptics.com for all the information. I love you guys. Thanks a lot for supporting the show. Permanence Tattoo Gallery, Anderson, Indiana, downtown on Meridian Street. You can hit them up on all the socials at Permanence Tattoo Gallery. And when they open back up, if you're in Indiana, go get some ink at Permanence Tattoo Gallery. Merge 4 Socks, great sock company. They have socks from the Circle Jerks and Sublime and Foo Fighters and all kinds of cool stuff. Head on over to merge4.com. And if you guys want a promo code to get 50% off your order, hit me up and I will hook you up. I think I've got like 4 or 5 of them left. So hit me up and I will get it for you. New sponsor alert, Start Famous. Start Famous is a custom print shop. They print merchandise for bands and anybody else that needs merch. And they're located in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I've spent so much time in Hamilton. I love it up there. And the guys from Start Famous wanted to sponsor some episodes. And I said, why not? Let's do it, man. You can hit them up over at startfamous.com. And if you order from them, your first order, you can use the promo code TOTOT10. That is TOTOT10 to get 10% off your first order. So shout out to the guys at Start Famous. Check them out. If you guys want to sponsor an episode or two for your band or company, you can hit me up, tototpodcast@gmail.com. And if you don't have a band or a company and you still want to get involved, you can go on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/TOTOT podcast. Shout out to our 2 Patreon producers, Bob Foster from Hemet, California, and Mr. John Exton from Stafford, England. Thank you guys so much for your support. If you guys don't want to do the monthly Patreon thing, but you want to help us out, you can hit up our Venmo. It is my name, at Christopher Swinney on Venmo. I had a really, really nice donation from a dude named Jason. Thank you so much. It really helps out in this uncertain time. I appreciate it so much. So check out the Venmo at Christopher Swinney if you want to donate. If not, totally cool. And I love the fact that so many bands have been, getting online and doing live streams. Our buddy Yotam from Useless ID has done it, and a bunch of other people have done it as well. So if you guys can help out any of the musicians that are out of work right now, that would be amazing. Do that before you help the show out. If you have extra, like dime or 50 cents, throw it my way. But help out the musicians first and foremost. So yeah, that's it. I do have a radio segment this week, and I'm going to hit that right now. So cue the theme music.
Radio, radio, radio. Radio, radio, radio. When I've got the music, I've got the place to go. Radio, radio, radio. Radio, radio, radio. When I've got the music in me, I got a place to go.
On this edition of TOTOT Radio, I've got a good one. Friend of the show, my good buddy, Josh Mann, singer and guitarist for one of my favorite bands, Paper Arms, all the way from Australia. He's got a solo record coming out April 9th. It is entitled Everything I Love Is Trying to Kill Me. It's going to be on Uncle M Records, which is over in Germany. And man, he just dropped this awesome song. The song is called Felling Giants, and it's great. It's on Spotify right now, and I'm going to go ahead and play it. And I want you guys to check out Josh's stuff. Like I said, his album, Everything I Love Is Trying to Kill Me, comes out April 9th on Uncle M. It'll be on all the streaming platforms, so check it out. It's Josh Mann, JoshMann. You can go to thejoshmann.com for any more information, or just check it out on Spotify or Apple Music. So this is my buddy Josh Mann with his first single from his new record. It's entitled Felling Giants.
Fell asleep to the young heartbeat of 20th century. Tick-tock to the talk of tyrants. Little Ned's been a long time pulling at the pant leg of this town. With stomachs rumbling, we fed their hearts and said we told them tales. Work week, don't you dare speak. Telling them your pay is coming short. With stomachs rumbling, we fed their hearts instead and told them tales of failing giants. Hold fast, hold tight, hold on 'cause you're getting tired. Hold fast, hold tight, hold on 'cause you're getting tired. Hold fast, hold tight, hold on 'cause you're getting tired. Hold fast, hold tight, hold fast, hold tight. Friend died on the factory line. Something died in me. Saw red and I grabbed a wrench. Threw it into the big machine. They're taking our lives, we'll take their steam. Who's with me? One by one, workers rise. I stared into their eyes and said, we're ready to fail some giants. I said, we're ready to fail some giants.
So there it was, my buddy Josh Mann, originally from Paper Arms, with the first single, Felling Giants, off of his upcoming release, Everything I Love Is Trying to Kill Me, out April 9th. Check it out. It's Josh Mann, M-A-N-N, on all the streaming platforms. It's also on YouTube if you want to check it out. So I can't wait to have you back on the show, my man, and I hope that everything is going well down in Australia. For you and all of our listeners, we have a big listener base down in Australia. So thank you guys so much for checking out the intro. We are going to get right into my conversation with Jon Tuttle from Codeseven. Make sure to hit me up on all the socials. I hang out on Instagram more than anywhere else at TOTOT Podcast. And without further ado, this is it, my conversation with Jon Tuttle from Codeseven. Here we go. And I'm on the line with Mr. Jon Tuttle from Codeseven. How are you today, Jon?
Hey, good. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. I got to say, I was very excited that you agreed to be on the show. I've been a big fan of the band for a long time.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, thanks. Happy to be here.
And I always thought it was cool because I played in a band called the Ataris, and both of our bands have something in common. We both covered Boys of Summer by Don Henley.
Yeah, that is true. Very true.
How did you guys come to the idea of covering that song? Our whole thing was our singer Chris kind of used to spend summers down in Florida at his grandparents, and he got that cassette single, and it always kind of resonated with him as like one of the first like tapes that he got. What was it for you guys?
Ooh. We were really big into playing covers in the early days. And we used to do a Madonna song, Express Yourself.
Okay.
Taking, weird pop songs that probably shouldn't be heavy, and that was Boys of Summer was one. I think I was working somewhere, and it used to play on the radio all the time. I think that's most likely where it came from, and we all thought it was a great song. So Um, yeah, that was like our next version of a song that we would play live, and we ended up recording it for whatever reason. Um, and that's how we ended up doing it, I guess.
That's cool, man. I just always thought that was cool because I would people would say like, "What band are you in?" I'm like, "The Guitars." Like, "Oh, you did that Boys of Summer cover." I'm like, "Yeah, but have you heard the Codeseven version? It's way
Yeah.
better."
No, no. Uh,
So I think we've met before. I played in a band also called Brazil, and
Yeah.
I have this memory of playing a show with you guys, or either going to see you guys on an off day at Ace's Basement out there in North Carolina.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's in Greensboro, city next door. Yeah, I know I don't know. I don't know how, but I know we have history together.
Yeah.
I feel like we definitely played shows. And I know I had a CD, or maybe there could have been a compilation or something, but because you guys have one song in particular that I just flipped over. Um, and so yeah, I've got memories. I can't remember specific shows that we may have played, but I know we definitely crossed paths, and I'm positive we've hung out before. I feel pretty sure about that.
I know that like my introduction to your band was through playing in Brazil, and I'm trying, man, it was so long ago, and I just have this memory. We either played with you at Ace's Basement, or I was at Ace's Basement and they were playing your live gig on the
Oh yeah,
TV because they always
right.
filmed all the shows there.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, I don't remember specifics, but yeah, I know I know specifically that we definitely hung out before, or various members of the bands have mingled for
That's how
sure.
it kind of always goes on this show. Like I get someone on the show and like I have a brief history with them, but we can never remember exactly where and when because it was like 20 years ago.
Oh yeah, it's been a while. That's for sure.
So I'd like to go back pretty far on this podcast. I want to know, I know that you and two of your two brothers, James and Matt, were in Code 7. Did you guys all start learning different instruments, or was it just kind of like, because I mean, I think that's kind of cool that you guys all played something different and you were brothers, or did you guys fight over maybe wanting to do the bass or the drums?
Definitely not. Didn't fight over the bass. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Um, no, yeah. Me and James both grew up playing guitar, um, and our grandparents, grandma, she was in a gospel band and kind of had like a country cover band too. So over at her house, there was just tons of instruments, PAs and mixing boards and guitars and drums and whatever you could want. Um, so there was a drum set, and I think we probably pushed Matt. He's younger than us, and me and James are twins. So we would push Matt onto the drums so we could have somebody to jam with, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't remember specifically, but I think he pretty much took to that. And there was always a drum set around anyway. So I think he took to that. But it worked out really well until Code 7 started, and then Eric was already kind of part of it, and I was kind of a little late to the party. So I was like, well, I guess I'll play bass. It wasn't necessarily by choice.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, which is not a bad thing because then I actually it ended up being the best thing because I got to kind of sit back and relax while they're all tap dancing on pedal boards and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say, I know you guys started out, and we'll talk about this a little bit later as we go through some of the records. I know you guys started out a little bit more aggressive and got more melodic, but the cool thing that I always liked was when you guys got more melodic, those songs that were a little more spacey, the bass had a lot to do with the melody in those songs. So you kind of lucked out in a way.
Yeah, yeah. That's a big part, which I was actually just talking about the other day. The guitars are kind of noodling, and the whole chord structure is with the bass, and you don't want to hit a bad bass note, or else the whole structure kind of falls apart. Yeah, it ended up being like pretty crucial to the point where I like, just let me handle this, like, because we all write
Yeah.
on whatever instrument. When it comes time to perform, it'll be usually me on bass. But yeah, I got to the point where I was like, I really preferred it because I felt like I had almost more control than anybody because I was picking these the main chord structures and whatnot. And I kind of preferred that actually.
So you guys formed the band in 1995. I know you guys were still in high school at that point, correct?
Yeah, me, James, and Jeff graduated in '95
Okay.
from high school, And then the other members, Dave, who was still in the band at the time, Eric and Matt were, between 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, all spread out, I think, through those years.
And you guys are what part of North Carolina are you guys in?
Winston-Salem.
Winston-Salem, okay. And you said Ace's Basement. How close is that to where you guys actually formed the band?
Yeah, that's in Greensboro, and that's about a 30-minute drive from Winston.
Did you guys play there quite a bit there at the beginning, or was it even open back then?
No, it wasn't there in the beginning, the early days, for sure. But yeah, when they first opened, we might have been the first band that ever played there. But yeah, once it opened, because they're Greensboro, which is a slightly bigger city than Winston-Salem, but they never quite seemed to have a stable venue in those days. So when that came around, it was really cool to have something that wasn't Winston-Salem, but still doing shows.
So you guys got the band going, and your first official release was called Paper or Plastic in 1996. So a year after you guys formed, you put something out. Was that self-released? Did you guys just put that on your own?
Yeah, I mean, I consider that almost more of a demo. We went to the studio, paid for it ourselves. We had no label. We didn't have anything. We just we recorded it and then got a whole bunch of random tapes, and we would dub it onto the tapes and sell them at shows for a couple bucks.
I did the same thing when I was young. My mother and my aunt were in this like kind of scammy type thing called Amway. You ever heard of that before?
Oh, yeah.
And what they would do is like they would give you these inspirational tapes to like help you with your business of selling products or whatever. And they would have these just boxes and boxes of tapes. And I used to do the thing where you would put the tape over the top of the hole so you could. And my first band, I think we went through like 500 to 1,000 tapes we sold that were all Amway tapes with a label over the top.
Oh yeah, totally. That's it. I mean, that's pretty much exactly what we did. Yeah, so that's that. It did. There was a local label called Huel Records, who did end up releasing it on their label. It was still more of a local release though. If you didn't live in the area, they didn't have distribution, I don't think, or anything like that.
Were you guys touring a lot back then, or were you still kind of just sticking around your area?
Yeah, there was. It would have been probably all regional,
Yeah.
Virginia, South Carolina, maybe, but probably didn't go much farther in the early days than that.
Did you get into that Richmond scene at all in Virginia?
We played there a few times. What's the name of the main club? It changed names, but
it's been a long time. My mind's not working right now.
The Richmond scene. No, we didn't. We played there a handful of times, but it wasn't somewhere where we ever played much. I know, obviously, Avail and all that. So we were paying attention big time to it because of Avail. But we played there a handful of times. It was good, but it wasn't somewhere where we ever played much.
What were, you just mentioned Avail, and I know they kind of, cross genres and whatnot. What were some of the bands that were inspiring you guys back when you started?
Avail was actually a really big one. They were, because they weren't too far away from us.
Yeah.
And they would come through a lot. And they were kind of like the band that was kind of showing everybody, hey, you can do this. Like, it's possible. And they would everyone would come out when Avail played. And the shows were crazy. And it was just kind of like, it was the inspiration for us. Like this band from Richmond can go play out of town, have these crazy draws, and then go to other towns. And, they were actually, they were doing it. You know what I mean? That was huge inspiration for us because they were like the band. If you could get a show with Avail and Winston, like that was the biggest thing possible.
So did you guys play some of those early shows in Winston with Avail?
We were lucky enough. I know we played at least twice with Avail, and before we got to play with them, I mean, we were going to see them. Like, I guess probably on Satiate is like very beginning.
Yeah,
we were there pretty early, and yeah, we did. I think Dixie and maybe Forum Friday we may have played with them. Yeah, that was just like one of the biggest inspirations for us was Avail for sure.
I just had Tim from Avail on the show about a month ago, and I've got to say, man, like, I've enjoyed every episode I've done, but speaking with that guy is the most amazing thing in the world.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, it's so cool.
Just
So
the
cool.
way he's so passionate about music and everything. So that's really cool. You guys were kind of there at the beginning, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they were number one, I think, for us for a long time.
Well, I know you guys, when you first started out, it was a little more hardcore, a little more aggressive. Were there any other bands you could tell me that were inspiring you that were kind of along those lines?
Um, Man, everything that whole when that the whole metalcore thing started, like we were like straight metalheads growing up.
Yeah.
Um, did not listen to punk. Was not the scene in Winston was definitely more of just kind of pop punk and stuff, and I wasn't really too into that, the sound anyway. Uh, but when things started getting more like metallic, that's when we were like, oh my god, the two worlds were kind of colliding, and because we loved the DIY aesthetic, the attitude, and that was definitely kind of us attitude wise. But musically, we weren't too big into the poppier stuff, the punk. With a few exceptions, like Avell definitely had a little more edge, and they weren't like poppy.
Yeah.
Um, so when the metalcore thing happened, like we were just like pretty much everything Victory Records put out in the mid '90s, Bloodlet, Entheogen Record, Dead Guy Fixation on Coworker, were massive, like massive for us. Um, and obviously the Snapcase and Earth Crisis, like just about it seems like everything they put out with that one 3-year time period or whatever, it was just like perfect. I still listen to so much of that stuff now.
I still do too. My wife makes fun of me. She's like, you listen to stuff you listened to like 20 years ago. I'm like, it's still
Yeah.
good. It's still great.
I think it holds up, like especially the Dead Guy record, Fixation.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I just love that. I think it still sounds current.
I was just like, with me, I've played in punk bands. I've played in like weird bands and hardcore bands, metal bands. I played in everything. To me, I was just always obsessed with just like consuming anything that was like underground and had some sort of like counterculture kind of thing. So like I was never into the poppy punk stuff, the more metallic kind of Fat Record stuff, and then like crust punk and then the hardcore bands and everything else. But I'm also a big metalhead, man.
Yeah. That's really what got us really going into that world. Like, cause we were, the post-hardcore stuff with Quicksand and some of the Revelation stuff we were getting huge into, and this is right when we're starting the band too. Um, but once you could see like everyone was kind of doing their spin on hardcore and how to make it heavy, and everyone had their own little version of it. Poison the Well was bringing in more melody, which was probably closer to what we would do. But every band seemed to have their own take on like this is what we would do if we wanted to make hardcore heavy. And it just everything in that time period was just seemed so fresh, and we loved it, and we were like, this is where we want to be. And and we did Division of Labor album, which was kind of our take on like this is where we would want to be, or our take on like heavy hardcore, I guess.
So the second release before Division of Labor, A Sense of Coalition, 1998, Music Cartel. How did you guys hook up with the Music Cartel?
The Music Cartel, the guy that owned that record label was the president of Earache Records in the U.S.
Okay.
And yeah, so
which, I mean, if you're into metal, that's kind of like, that's a label you know about, right?
oh yeah, I knew all about Earache. I had the Carcass and Tomb releases. The Hill Records, they were on. They had a band as well called Squatwater, and they were on a label in New York. I can't think of the name of the label, but their office was right across from Earache office. And they were like, well, we'll give, they put out the record, but they were like, well, we'll give it to our record label too. And they listened to it, and they were like, oh, this is way heavy for us, but we know somebody that might like it. They're across the hall. They're into heavy stuff. And they passed it along to Earache. And next thing you know, Earache's like knocking on our door, and offered us a record contract. Which is crazy.
With actual Earache themselves.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was like 5 or 6 record deal or something they wanted to do. But, which was really cool. Like, like we were big into the Earache stuff. Yeah, we were still in high school. We had Paper or Plastic had come out. self-released, and then Heel picked it up and did it locally. But that made its way into Earache's hands. So while the negotiations with them took forever because we were going to do it. We were like, all right, let's just get the lawyers on board, and as soon as everyone agrees, whatever. We were okay. We were skeptical because it was so many records.
Yeah.
Um,
That does seem like quite a bit.
yeah, I think the number
seems like
went up.
one of those old Victory contracts that people get
Right.
screwed on. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. This probably where they copied their style from.
Yeah.
It definitely started getting a little sketchier the longer it took. And half the band was still in high school. And that demo that we released, those are some of the first songs we'd ever written, not just as a band, but as just as musicians ourselves. Like we were pretty new to the whole world of like writing music. So it just seemed
I take it that Codeseven's your first band then, correct?
right. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
We all started it in high school. Together, or just out of high school. The brothers were all playing in Eric. We were doing we would play parties with covers and cover, Ministry or, whatever. So we had been all playing together throughout high school, but it wasn't until we graduated that it was like, all right, let's put a name on it. Let's find somebody to sing, which was Jeff, and, kind of, got things moving.
And A Sense of Coalition, that 1998 record on Music Cartel, that was the one that had Boys of Summer, and you guys started getting some radio play, some college radio play, correct?
Right. Yeah. We actually recorded that ourselves too. And then Eric was going to buy it, but then we were like, we decided to cancel that, and the owner or the president was leaving to start his own label, Music Cartel, and he's like, come with me, instead of Eric. So we did, because it was just a couple records we had to do with him, and it was a lot less pressure for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess they bought it from us. I guess, I don't know. That was self-funded ourselves as well, though. And then we recorded that Boys of Summer, and that definitely started to take off. And which we were not happy about.
You weren't weren't happy about it?
No. We were becoming known as the band. Basically what the Ataris, I think, embraced.
Well, no, that's the thing. I mean, it seems like we embraced it, but there was so many nights where I remember no one wanted to play that fucking song.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we never, there was no single or release or anything on our part. That was just the song that a lot of the college radio stations started picking up.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll tell you a story really quick that you might like then. You're talking about the whole Boys of Summer thing and people knowing you for that. I moved down south to Gulf Shores, Alabama a few years back, or about 7-8 years ago. I'm now back in Indiana. But I met this guy at a bar, and he's like, well, what did you used to do for a living? And I said, I played in a band. And he said, what's the name of the band? And I said, the Ataris. And he was like, oh, I've never heard of them. And then 2 minutes later, his phone rings, and his ringtone is our version of Boys of Summer.
Oh. Wow.
And I was like, I said, dude, that's my band. And he goes, no, that's Sum 41. The song got bigger than the band. There's people out there that love that song that have no idea who the fuck the Ataris are.
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
So I feel you, dude.
Yeah, no, we got to the point where we wouldn't even play live, and we were just we're hoping everyone would forget it, and people but they did forget it. Howard Stern even played it. He did a comparison, I think, with the original. And that's when it was no more. We're cutting it out of the set.
Yeah.
Let's move on, which we did. And we haven't recorded a cover since.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. It was fun. It helped get things moving for us, especially the New York, New Jersey, and Long Island, SOU. Seton Hall, they played it a lot up there, which really helped get Codeseven going in the north, which was awesome. Very thankful for that. But too many requests for that song.
Yeah, totally, man. So after Division of Labor, which came out in 1999 on Music Cartel, the same label, your singer David departs the band. Did you guys replace him, or did you guys just kind of reorganize? I know you guys always had two singers.
Right. No, there was no replacement. We were by the time we were finished writing Division, we were moving towards wanting to experiment with more melody, maybe less heavy stuff.
Yeah.
the last song on Division, which was all melodic, was kind of like foreshadowing the future, I guess. And obviously Dave doesn't sing, and we were really, really, really trying to push him to do synths and stuff like that because he had really one or two really nice synthesizers, and we were wanting him to incorporate that into the music because we were like, I think everyone's kind of wanting to go in this direction. But yeah, he wasn't, I don't think he wanted to take a back seat, which I guess that would have been after being up front for so many years. So yeah, it didn't work out, but which really sucks. But and that's why we ended up like doing the guitar synth stuff, just to try to fill it in without bringing anybody else on, because we were really wanting to mess around with different sounds and whatnot. But yeah.
So on The Rescue, which was the next record after David left, it was, a lot less aggressive, more melodic. And were there any certain bands or anything that was influencing you guys to kind of make that change? I know friends that I've had that have been in heavier bands, they always kind of come to that point where it's still fun to play heavy aggressive music, but you grow up kind of and you start listening to different stuff. Like, what was the catalyst for you guys to kind of make that change?
I just think I think the whole the the genre that we were playing in, like that was so exciting when we got started, and it seemed so fresh. It started to feel a little stale, I guess, and we were wanting to experiment more ourselves, and like we didn't want to fall into that world to where just like everything is getting rehashed and rehashed and rehashed to where nothing sounds fresh anymore. So we were like, let's just go out and push ourselves to do something that's out of our comfort zone, which is typically how we like to work. Like throw ourselves out and just to unfamiliar places and see what happens. So I mean, and that's kind of basically what it was. A lot of the shows back then too, though, were like so many. There was fights nonstop. All the local bands that would get at it. There'd be like 10 local bands on every show, and they all wanted to be like tough guy hardcore, which we weren't really into.
Yeah.
And we were seeing so much more of that, that we were just struggling to kind of relate to some of that, I guess. So we were just like, well, let's just mellow out and see what happens.
Was there a little bit of like polarizing with the people that liked the band when that record came out?
Yeah, for sure. Like it kind of split everything into two camps, I think, without a doubt. Yeah.
Pre The Rescue and post The Rescue.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That's how people, I think, still, when they talk about Codeseven, it's like, even with the Furnace Fest announcement, I've seen, well, is it going to be the early stuff or the old stuff? 'Cause it's two different versions, which is, it's whatever. It's fine.
So, after The Rescue, you guys end up signing to Equal Vision. Can you kind of let me know how you came to their attention and how that all started?
Yeah. We know Dan, who works, Dan Sanshaw, for quite a few years. We had crossed paths at various festivals way before he was even working at Equal Vision. So we kind of knew them. I think we had just toured with Coheed, I think, who was killing it on Equal Vision. So we were kind of interacting. We toured with Fairweather, Liars Academy, which was like almost all Equal Vision, Open Hand. I don't think they were Equal Vision, but we had been crossing paths a lot and are having to work together with various tours and stuff. And we were, that was the time period where all the major labels were starting to sign up all the scene bands or whatever. And they were looking at us too for a long time. So there was a lot of back and forth with various major labels. But we kind of felt like we were getting strung along. And so our lawyer, we canceled any of the negotiations that were going on. We were just like, forget it. We don't want to do that. And she was like, well, who do you want to sign with? Or what do you want to do? It's like, well, I don't know, Equal Vision. Like we've been playing with their bands, and we knew Dan was over there. So and everyone seemed to be so happy with them, and they were putting out amazing music. So we were suggested that, and it was like almost like, I feel like just a few days later, I feel like we were signing contracts to be on Equal Vision.
Was it multiple records or what was the deal?
Right. Yeah. I think it was three records. Yeah. We only did one before breaking up, but yeah. I think it's three.
So when you only do one and then you break up, like, are you? I mean, I'm sure I know a lot about how this works, but I don't know if the listeners do. Are you paying them back for those other two, or do they just say like they just call it a day, or it's all out of royalties? What is it?
No, yeah. I mean, they never advanced any money for the other records or anything like that. So yeah, and we toured on the one release that we did for it, and I'm fairly confident everything was recouped. Not that I see any money from it or anything like that, but um, I feel pretty confident they recouped that initial record anyway. But I guess technically Codeseven is still under contract for sure. So if we wanted to put something out, we would definitely have to go to them first and give them like first dibs if they want us to release it, I guess.
So that record you were speaking of was Dancing Echoes and Dead Sounds, or Dancing Echoes, Dead Sounds, 2004. That even kind of took, the more melodic, less aggressive approach from the Rescue even further. Were you guys just really, really feeling that? I mean, because it's a really chill record. Like, I really love it, man.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks. I don't. It's weird because when we released that, for me, I think that everybody in the band, we were like, for the first time ever, we've done two records that sound similar, like the same band, you know. But talking to people, when people heard it, they were like, "Oh, this is completely different than Rescue." But to us, I don't think any of us really felt like it was any different. Like it was the same thing. We had way more time in the studio this time, and the whole record was written on a computer, which I think is the big difference. Whereas the Rescue, we were using the computer to form ideas, but with dancing, like I almost every song on that record we never even played in a room together before we recorded it, which was a really weird thing. Kind of an experiment, I guess. Um, yeah, we treat every time we go and write and record, we try to, again, put ourselves in a position where, we don't know exactly what we're doing and hopefully, experiment a little bit and, see what happens. But we definitely thought that it sounded like the same band from record to record. But it's not the case. I guess I can kind of hear it now, but we were pretty confident for the first time in our history as a band, we'd finally pulled off two records back to back that sounded like the same band. But then I don't think anybody else saw it that way.
So can you take me through like a writing session? Then you said you used the computer for all those songs. How were you guys actually going about writing the songs for that record?
We had, let's see, a lot of it was like just weird drum loops, and I feel like the vibe of that record is because we weren't completely sure when writing how to get out of the loops. So I feel like, which I hear it when I hear that record. I see that as a downside too. I see it as a downside of not playing those songs before recording them now. But it was a really interesting thing because we kind of got tied into certain drum loops that we would just set up and try to create a mood. And we definitely struggled to get out of it because we weren't in any kind of pro recording setup. I mean, this is like still the early 2000s. So it didn't sound good or anything like that. But yeah, it was very interesting, but I wouldn't do it that way ever again. I can tell you that. I see the downsides of it, and I can hear the downsides of it.
So when the record was done and you guys actually had to take this out to the people and go on the road, you just had to learn the songs since you guys had never really played them together?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we got home and they sent us the guys that recorded the album. We had the stems, and because we knew most likely to pull off a lot of the stuff, we were going to have to start using tracks.
Yeah,
which we'd never done before. So yeah, once we had the tracks and we figured out a way to do that live, that's when we started like piecing everything together and trying to figure out how to pull it off. Because we had never done a record. The Rescue was almost done in like real time, like very few overdubs at all. So, and we had always wanted to make a recording on a computer, which sounds crazy to say in 2020, but
yeah.
it had always been on tape. We had never gotten a chance to work in Pro Tools. So that was one of our goals, was to work on Pro Tools, have unlimited amounts of tracks, and just do whatever we wanted to, layer as much as we wanted. We never had that chance. And we did it with that record. But yeah, it became a hassle to try to figure out how to play it live. And I don't, and how to make them come alive live, because since we didn't play them before we recorded them, sometimes I don't think those songs translate well live. I think they sound good when you listen to them, but I don't think they come across as good as some of the Rescue stuff live.
Yeah.
For that reason. But yeah, again, like, that's just kind of our thing. Just kind of, let's experiment, and if it doesn't go right, it doesn't matter. Let's just, like, getting too comfortable in any one area makes me uncomfortable.
Well, I think you should always challenge yourself if you're an artist. And I like the fact that you guys never kind of did the same thing twice. I really like that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it was always pushing ahead and trying to, trying to lead the way, for better or worse. That's what excited us, and it's what excites me about music. The music that I listen to, when I'm trying to find new stuff to listen to, it's like the bands that are, like, really trying to take things somewhere different. That's what makes me excited about music.
So when the record came out, I'm sure you guys probably started touring. I mean, I know you were touring a lot more before that, but you're on Equal Vision now. You've got a record that's out. What was the schedule like when it came out? Did you guys just go, go, go?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, the Rescue is when the touring really started. Coming out, I guess, because we still consider ourselves, like, I guess, punk, hardcore, metal band or whatever. We may not sound like it, but that's still kind of our home base. And we would tour a lot, with heavier bands still on the Rescue. So it started, and yeah, it was nonstop. We were turning down tours quite often, just because it was just nonstop. Like, obviously the label and management wants you to keep going and not turn anything down. But yeah, we were definitely getting burned out, and we weren't making a whole lot of money. Our motto as a band was always, if we're going to have to go out and be away from home, let's try to reach new people and expand, instead of, playing smaller shows to just our audience. So we would take and support tours was what that was our, for better or worse. I'm not sure that was the best idea in hindsight, but yeah, so that's what we did. If we're going to have to be on the road, let's open and try to get new kids. So it was nonstop.
Were there any, did you guys tour with a lot of heavy bands after that Equal Vision record came out? I mean, because was it kind of tough to kind of, break those fans?
Like, the hardcore kids in that scene, I feel like, were way more accepting of, like, that sound, the newer, slower sound, than the new kids that were starting to come into the scene, especially the teenagers. With MTV and all that stuff. Playing those songs to kids, like, is one of the things that, like, made us just want to quit. The teenagers have that thing, I guess, that they can do to you. I don't know. So yeah, that they were, in hindsight, again, I feel like the hardcore punk shows, like, those kids were way more open, even if it's, like, nothing but heavy music, and then us, somewhere in there. Like, we would sell so much more merch to us, a size crowd that's a quarter or a fifth of the size of, like, some of those tours we were doing, but we would sell way more much, and they would be so more enthusiastic than the teenagers who were coming to those bigger shows, who just didn't care. We were way too weird, I guess, for them, and they didn't want anything to do with us. So even though we were playing stuff that was way more mellow, you would think that they could relate to it. Yeah, the heavier kids are the ones that really seem to understand it best.
So you guys ended up breaking up in 2005, a year after that record came out. Was it the touring schedule and just, this what always happens to bands, or was there some kind of, like, inner turmoil with band members? Like, what was it that made you guys break up?
It was, I think it was just I had a kid. We'd been doing it for a decade at that point, which was a goal. I think it was a kind of a unsaid goal of everybody. It's like, oh wow, we did this one thing continuously, thought about it nonstop every day for a decade. Um, and I think we all knew, like, we just hit the decade mark. The trajectory of the band was always going up, though. Even if it was very small, we never hit a spot where things went backwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were really, we were coming, I guess, probably about to hit 30 or so. Some of us maybe. I was married. I had a kid. I was starting to have to miss tours because, if I want to make money, I stay home. I don't go on tour.
Yeah, totally,
Um,
man.
but when you're taking support, especially. Um, so yeah, it was just getting older, and financially, it was really, really, really hard to do it for us. At that kind of, we could have slowed down, and I know a lot of bands will slow down and keep going, and maybe only do a tour here and there. But that after a decade of nonstop, and I mean every single day, all you did was think about what are we going to do for the band.
Yeah.
It was just like we just needed like that mind space. It was like the idea of not having anything was really appealing.
So what did you do for work kind of in the interim? But I know we're going to talk about the reunion here in a minute, but like what are your discernible skills other than playing bass?
Well, I mean, like, I think like a lot of people, a whole lot of people in bands, like, I was the guy that was working on flyers and t-shirt designs and merch stuff.
Yeah.
So like, or website, like I learned to code and learned to do all of this out of kind of necessity. And so yeah, so I was doing design and working at a yearbook company, doing graphics and whatnot, and which was awesome because while the band was going, almost every member of the band worked there for a little while, and because it was a yearbook company, you would get the summers completely off,
Wow.
and then they would have like unemployment and stuff benefits because they need you to come back in the fall. So a lot of the touring that we did, like especially throughout the summers, like I still had a little income coming in through that. A couple of us did, which was amazing. Like you could not have found a better situation than that.
When I was touring when I was younger, I would always the summer would hit and I would quit whatever crap job I had or wouldn't quit. I'd find a way to get unemployment. I don't remember how I really did it, but my dad back in the day they would send you a little note in the mail and you had to like put 3 places that you tried to get a
Yeah,
job and then send it back and they'd give you your money. My dad did that for me for 4 months one summer
yeah,
just
totally,
so I could
totally.
have money on the road. It was crazy, man.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. I did the exact same thing. The other guys would, have to work, random jobs and have to quit when a tour came up. Yeah, but when we started at this job, which was probably when Division, we were doing Division, is when we started that. Me and James, at this place, we told them like, well, we're in a band, we're going to tour as long as you're okay with us leaving every now and then. And they were, I guess, desperate for work, and they agreed to it, and they actually held it up. So if we needed 2 weeks in December to do a short run, they would let us, and we'd come back and still had a job.
Wow, that's great, man.
So yeah, we were extremely fortunate. I consider that company being one of the reasons why we were able to keep going and take so many support opening slots that don't pay that too hot.
Now, the thing that I was gonna ask you is, I know you guys are gonna play Furnace Fest this year, but I didn't realize you guys kind of got back together in 2010. You did like a tour supporting Circa Survive. Like, are you guys like an active band like before, like during that interim, or are you guys just kind of you did the reunion and then
Right.
you were just kind of inactive until something else cool popped up? Like, because there hasn't been any new music, correct?
No, no, nothing new. Yeah, we did a reunion show. I'm kind of I'm not even sure what the time frame is. Maybe if after 4 years or so of being broken up, we
Yeah.
did a kind of a hometown show. Um, and we're friends with those guys, really good friends, Circus Survive, and we used to tour with This Day Forward back in the day. Great people. And they saw that we had done a reunion show, and they were just like, "So if you're gonna play a show, do you want to play a tour as well?"
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, we were like, yeah, sure, let's do it. We didn't have any plans to do anything but that one show, and we didn't really have any plans to do anything after that tour. We thought maybe we might write, but and we even stopped by Equal Vision on that tour too and hung out and we told them, well, we might. It was early on in the tour, and we were like, we might write if you guys, want to put it out, and just kind of filling it out, I guess. But yeah, by the time the tour was done, we were just kind of like, let's just leave it,
So there hasn't been a lot of activity since that tour, correct?
Right. We played one show not too long after that tour. We did another just hometown show with Hubs Fall. And then we haven't played since. It's been about a decade since we played together.
So I guess that brings me up to Furnace Fest. I'm very excited about Furnace Fest. Actually, it's cool that like you guys are gonna play and kind of get back together. A lot of other bands are as well, but it's cool that Furnace Fest is back because it's been gone for so long. My wife is actually from Birmingham, Alabama, so like
awesome.
We might actually be there. I might get to come see you guys. But
oh yeah,
when that all came about, you guys said you haven't played together in like 10 years.
Yeah.
Did they contact you? Do you guys have some sort of like, dormant booking agent you're working with, or like, how did that come about?
I guess through Beloved, actually. Beloved's from here as well, or a city like a little town 10 or 15 minutes away, but we're basically from the same place. Like, we run into those guys randomly all the time.
Yeah.
And I had heard a little bit like Furnace Fest might be getting back, and Beloved might be doing their first show in forever. So I kind of knew some stuff was going on. And then it got announced, which is awesome. We were, pumped for those dudes. And then Dusty from Beloved started texting, and he was like, your name keeps coming up for Furnace Fest. Like, would you guys even consider that? And I think James, he wrote myself and my brother. I think James was like, man, that's cool and all, but we can't.
Yeah.
But I was on the thing too with Dusty. I was like, well, Jesus, like, shouldn't we at least listen if they have an offer or anything? So I was like, and I told Dusty, I was like, well, if Chad, the organizer, if he wants to make an offer, or whatever, he can send it over. It said, here's my email. Not expecting to really do it or anything. But he sent it over. And that's kind of how it got going. I guess Beloved, or Dusty from Beloved, yeah, he was kind of the one, kind of like, he was the contact, because we obviously have no booking agent. We don't have anything.
Yeah.
But he had our contact, and so he kind of laid the groundwork for that to get started, for sure.
Are you? I mean, you've got to be excited. Like I'm hoping that I get to go. That lineup is just insane.
Yeah. No, I mean, I didn't. He when they wrote Furnace Fest, like it took us a while, but I was like, I told him like we weren't going to be able to do it. Like I just couldn't get everybody on the same page. But they were very, very. They don't take no as an answer, I guess.
Yeah.
They were very coming back, and that really meant, I think, a lot to everybody. The fact that like they didn't just want to they didn't just take the no and leave it. Like they kept coming back and like we really want you to play. We're not just trying to fill up our lineup. Like we really, really want you to play. And I think that meant a lot to everybody. And I think that was really the thing that got everybody to say, all right, you know what, we'll do it. Was the fact that they really did seem to really want us to be a part of it. But yeah, we hadn't been thinking about Codeseven. Like it came out of kind of nowhere. Like no one has been in that headspace for years. And everyone's kind of, comfortable in what they're doing now. And getting back into that headspace is kind of scary because it can take over to where that's all you start thinking about, because that is our favorite thing to do. And we'll spend all our time doing it. We're not careful, which is, I think, another reason why sometimes maybe we don't get back into that world.
Yeah.
Is because it kind of consumes us.
Well, if I'm down there, man, we got to hang out.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm gonna be there for every day. Like I booked a hotel room. I'm bringing my kid. My kid is just turned 16. he never saw Codeseven. He's never actually, I guess, seen me perform in a band really. I don't think ever.
Wow.
So I'm like, all right, and he listens to a lot of these bands. Like he's the one showing me like, he's the one telling me about like counterparts and stuff like that. So he's pumped. So I'm like, all right, let's just make a thing out of it. And I know the way that they have all the bands separated so well. It's like you kind of got to go every day now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's crazy. I just had Josh from The Beautiful Mistake on the program, and they're playing. And I mean, so many bands that kind of haven't really been in action for a while. But then you've got Hot Water Music and Avail, and I mean, it's amazing. Poison the Well is playing. I mean, have you seen any of the videos from their show out west that they just did?
Oh yeah, in LA, yeah, I have actually.
Dude, it's so great. I love Poison the Well so much.
Oh yeah. Those are some old friends of ours, and I'm so excited to see them play again because it's been a long time.
That's awesome, man. Well, I tell you what, I've had you on the phone for quite a while. I have a couple listener questions if you wouldn't mind answering.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so Eric from Indiana, and I'll preface this by saying this is Eric, the guitarist from Brazil. He wants to know what's up with the alien abduction theme on The Rescue.
The vocalist may or may not have had experiences that I can't confirm or deny, but he's had some potential. I don't know. You'd have to talk to Jeff. I wasn't there, so I can't confirm it. But I've heard that he may have left the world, possibly for a brief second. I don't know.
Well, hey, at least it gave him a lot of ammunition for writing some good stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
What are your thoughts? This is kind of a weird tangent, but like as far as aliens existing, paranormal stuff, like does that stuff excite you? Do you watch any of the TV shows like Ancient Aliens or anything?
Yeah, I mean, the weird stuff, like that was definitely that Jeff, the vocalist, like that's his world. He loves it. So he's all over that stuff. I mean, we all, I think, were definitely, especially back in those days, were like, just all over anything that just sounded weird. We were like just sucking it in.
So being in North Carolina, I mean, I know a lot of the Bigfoot sightings are out west, but I know that there's like in Florida, there's the skunk ape. Is there any kind of urban legends where you live?
Oh man. There's a road here called Payne Road, which I've never been on. It's outside of the city, but back when I was a kid, they would say if you what was it? I can't remember exactly. If you park your car on this road at this curve, like weird stuff happens. And you really need to be talking to Jeff about this stuff. He can tell you all this stuff. But yeah, there's little things like that, I guess. But I haven't experienced it myself.
Cool. I'll have to have Jeff on at some point. Okay. So thank you, Eric, for your question. And he wanted me to say hello to you. So
hello back.
So Francesca from Argentina, all the way down in South America, she said, where did the name Codeseven come from?
Oh man, I think it was just combining words randomly together, and nobody disagreed with that one. There's no meaning whatsoever.
No meaning whatsoever. It sounds really cool.
No. Yeah. It sounded neutral. I think that's kind of why it didn't sound metal. It didn't sound punk necessarily. It just sounded like it could kind of fit wherever it wanted to. I think that's why we all were like, sure. Yeah, but it was almost zero thought went into that.
Awesome. Well, Francesca, thank you for your question. All the way from Argentina. Thank you for listening. I appreciate that. And I guess we know we're at the end of this thing, man. Is there any chances for new music? I mean, I know you guys are doing Furnace Fest, but like it seems like maybe then the band's going to be back on the back burner, right?
Yeah, I mean, like who knows? Like we haven't started practicing or anything yet. We're just now starting to get those things in order. So you never know. Like I would love to write. I think everybody in the band would love to write. It's, I think some of us, like me and James, have a business that we run together. And, it's kind of a can of worms because, our headspace, and that's the reason why most of us haven't done much music at all since Codeseven, is that, we're concentrating on other things. And when you open up this music, it takes over. Like, I can't describe it. nothing happens except for music. And when you're trying to run a small business, and several of us in the band have one, it's not good for business at all.
Yeah.
It will suffer. So, but I'm not gonna lie, it could happen if things go really well with practice and jamming and whatnot. It could. I don't know. I'm not gonna say no, but
What if Circus Survive, after Furnace Fest says, "Hey, come on tour with us again"?
yeah. Well, I tell you, I'm dying to go on tour. It's been a long time. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could, if we could. I don't know. Honestly, I think I don't see us doing much of anything unless there's music. It was really cool to be able to do that though, especially doing that with Dredge and Animals Leaders, and oh man, such a dream lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess if another dream lineup come up, yeah, we would probably do it. It's hard to say no.
You're leaving the door open, but there's no concrete plans, right?
Right. I mean, as of a couple months ago, it was dead as a doornail. So, and so much has changed since then. So, yeah, definitely not going to say no to anything.
Awesome. Well, Jon, thank you so much for being on the program today. Is there anything else you'd like to promote on the show? Like anything you want to plug?
Oh man.
The business or anything?
The business is local. It doesn't really matter. I would say, there's a band I've been listening to, that I really like, State Faults. They put out a new record this year. Man, so good. Everybody should go check them out.
What? They're called State Faults?
State Faults. Yeah. Their record came out last year, and oh man, it's so good. Everyone should go listen to that.
Cool. Well, everybody go listen to that. And Jon, thank you so much. And I hope to see you at Furnace Fest, and it's going to be amazing, man. And I've never, I've seen you guys play. I think we played a show together, but I want to see it again. So I can't wait to see you guys if I'm there.
Awesome. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Yeah, make sure to hit me up, and because I'm going to be down there all weekend. A couple of us probably will be, and we'll get some beers or something.
Oh, sounds great, man. Well, hey, thank you so much. And if something does come up in the future, please come back and tell us, okay?
Yeah, most certainly.
Awesome. I'll talk to you later, man. Have a great day.
Great. Thank you.
Bye. So there it was, my conversation with Jon Tuttle from Codeseven. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. Make sure to get your tickets for Furnace Fest. The lineup is unreal if you guys haven't seen it. It's like Poison the Well and Hot Water Music and Avail. And oh my God, it's insane. So make sure that you get down to Alabama for Furnace Fest. You guys will not be sorry. I am hoping to be there. Hopefully this pandemic thing will die out before then. People are saying it might last till August. It might last to, for 3 more weeks. Like nobody knows what's going on. And my wife and I watch the press conferences every day with Trump, and man, nobody can tell you anything. And I think that's it. It's the uncertainty of when we're going to get back to work and when we can leave the house and not be scared. It's really crazy. Like I said, I was out in Oregon a few weeks back, and I was kind of making fun of my mom because she was wearing a mask in the airport, and we got home and I'm not making fun of her anymore. So I apologize, Mom, if you listen to this. I apologize for making fun of you for being freaked out about the coronavirus, because now I think I'm more freaked out than you are. So I hope you guys are safe out there wherever you are in the world. Drop me a line. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know how crazy it is where you live. So you can hit me up, tototpodcast@gmail.com, or on all of the social media platforms at TOTOT Podcast. If you want to leave a voicemail, let me know what's going on. You can call the hotline. It is country code 1-765-372-8818. Hit me up and let me know how you're doing. So that's it for this week. I'd like to thank Jon from Codeseven for coming on the show. I'd like to thank all my sponsors, the Cryptics, Permanent Tattoo Gallery, Merge 4, Start Famous, and yeah, that's it. That's all of them. So thank you guys so much for helping out, and thank you for listening. Without you guys, I'd just be talking into a mic, into nothing, and I really appreciate that you guys are here week in and week out. I've been getting some really, really cool emails from you guys. Remember, you can always email me and just let me know how things are. If tell me if you like the show, if you hate the show. I love the feedback, and I love the constructive criticism, or just the accolades telling me how much you love hearing the sound of my voice. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know. But that is it. I'm going to jump out of here, but not before I tell you next week on the program, it's a good one. Mr. Zach Quinn from Pears Amazing Fat Records band. They've got a new record out that you have to listen to. So much emotion and power and just passion. It is such a good record. So go check out the new Pears record. It's on all of the streaming sites. And Zach and I just had a really cool conversation, and that is next week. So make sure to come back for that. And until then, I'm going to leave you with 2 songs that I love by Codeseven. One is a little bit heavier, and one is a little bit spacier and more melodic. And yeah, I'll just let you guys enjoy those and go get some Codeseven stuff, man. I think there's probably still some stuff in the Equal Vision store, or, go to rockabilia.com. They probably have some stuff. I don't know, man. Codeseven's great, and I hope that they continue going. I hope they put out something new. But if not, it's great to just have the old stuff. So they're on all the streaming sites too. So check out some Codeseven. But I'm going to play The Rescue, and then I'm going to play Roped and Tied after that. So I love you guys. This is Chris. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Don't go anywhere. Social distance. Social distance from everybody. I love you. I'll see you next week. Peace.
You can't live alone.
Hey guys, it's Silas Lenny. And I see you. That's one time I turn.
This is the Jabberjaw Podcast Network.